Jai Hind to all. Today we are going to study chapter 7 of class 8 science, conservation of plants and animals. Learning objectives. So what are our learning objectives? What we will learn at the end of the discussion, you will become aware of wildlife sanctuaries, national park that are meant for conservation and preservation of forest and wild animals. You will know that plants and animals of a particular area are known as flora and fauna of that area. You will understand the difference between endemic species and endangered species. You will understand why we should save, reuse and recycle paper to save trees, energy and water. Now, what we already know, what you know, you have studied in class 7th. In class 7th, we had seen that Paheli and Bujho had visited the forest along with Professor Ahmed and Tibu. They were eager to share their experiences with their classmates, and this happens with you also. When you go to some place, then when you come back to your class, then you share it with your classmates. Like these days during the pandemic also, you must be eager that when the school will reopen and we will share so many things with our classmates. So same way Paheli and Bujho shared with their classmates about their experiences of the places they had visited, like Bharatpur Sanctuary, Kaziranga National Park, Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve and Tiger Reserve and many other places. So first of all, we will study deforestation. What is deforestation? De means something that is negative. Whenever we use the prefix de, that is removal. Clearing of forests and using the land for other purposes is called deforestation. The causes of deforestation are procuring land for cultivation, building houses and factories, using wood as fuel or making furniture. The natural causes of deforestation, they are forest fires, as you can see here in this slide, or drought, as you can see on the left side. These conditions result in deforestation, removal of forests. Now, what are the consequences of forest? And often to your mind also, just like Bujho, it might be coming to your mind that how does deforestation reduce rainfall on the one hand and lead to floods on the other. So what are the consequences of deforestation? Increase in the temperature and pollution level of the earth, increase in the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere leading to global warming, lowering of groundwater level, disturbing the balance in nature. Deforestation decreases rainfall leading to drought condition, because if there are no trees, there will be no transpiration, water vapor will be less and cloud formation will reduce. That leads to drought, soil erosion and decrease in soil fertility leading to desertification. Decrease in the water holding capacity of soil leads to floods, because if there are no trees, the roots are not there to bind the soil, so water holding capacity of the soil will reduce and floods will occur. Conservation of forests and wildlife. So this is what we should do and how we can do conservation. Forests and wildlife can be conserved by setting up areas like biosphere reserves, wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, etc. Now what are these? Let us study one by one. Biosphere reserves are large areas of protected land for conservation of biodiversity and the traditional life of the tribals living there. National parks, these are the areas reserved for wildlife where they can freely use the habitats and natural resources. And wildlife sanctuaries, these are the areas where animals are protected from any disturbance to them or their habitat. So we can conserve animals or wildlife in various ways. Then biosphere reserves. These are large areas of protected land for conservation of biodiversity and the traditional life of the tribals living there. So biodiversity, what we mean by biodiversity? Bio means the living organisms, diversity means the great variety. So that is the variety of plants and animals and microorganisms found in the area. The Pachmari Biosphere Reserve, it consists of a national park called Satpura and 2 wildlife sanctuaries called Bori and Pachmari. So here in this map we can see the Pachmari Biosphere Reserve. You can see the Pachmari Sanctuary, Bori Sanctuary, and that is the state of Madhya Pradesh. Then flora and fauna. What do we mean by flora and fauna? Flora are the plants found in a particular area and fauna are the animals found in a particular area. For example, the flora of Pachmari consists of sal, teak, wild mango, jamun and silver ferns, some of which you can see on this slide. The fauna of Pachmari consists of wild dog, cheetal, wolf, leopard, blue bull, barking deer, etc. Then we come across a term endemic species. Now what we understand from this term endemic species? Endemic species are those species of plants and animals found only in a particular area and not found anywhere else. That is, it is restricted to a particular place. For example, sal and wild mango are the endemic flora of Pachmari region. Bison, Indian giant squirrel and flying squirrel are the endemic fauna of Pachmari sanctuary. Wildlife sanctuaries. These are areas where animals are protected from any disturbance to them or their habitat. The killing or capturing of animals in wildlife sanctuary is strictly prohibited. If you happen to kill an animal over there, then you will be punished by law. Now what we understand by zoo and wildlife sanctuaries? What is the difference? That we should know. Zoo, it is an area where animals are kept for public exhibition. Whereas wildlife sanctuary is an area in which animals are protected in their natural habitat. So zoo is what? It is an artificially created habitat, whereas wildlife sanctuary, it is natural habitat. A zoo contains animals which are brought from different parts of the country and from other countries for exhibition. Whereas a wildlife sanctuary contains animals found locally in that area. So in Dehradun, we find the Dehradun Zoo, or for wildlife sanctuary, we can take the example of Pachmari Sanctuary. National parks. National parks are areas reserved for wildlife where they can freely use the habitats and natural resources. Example, Satpura National Park, that is the first reserve forest in India. Endangered species. Just now we have talked of endemic species, that is species restricted to a particular area. Now we come across this term endangered species. Now what is endangered? Endangered animals are those animals whose numbers are diminishing, that is becoming less, and they might face extinction. That is, a day might come when they will be no more. Tiger is one of the many animals which are slowly diminishing. To protect the tigers in our country, the government launched Project Tiger, to ensure the survival of tiger population. Dinosaurs, we know, as many of you might have seen the movie Jurassic Park, where they talk about dinosaurs, but dinosaurs have become extinct. It is only in the movies that we see dinosaurs. Now, Bujo says, I wonder if there is any record of all the endangered species. From where we will come to know. So, a record of all the endangered plants and animals is maintained, and that book is known as Red Data Book. In that it is maintained. So, ecosystem, what is ecosystem? It consists of all the plants and animals, the great biodiversity, and the microorganisms which we don't see living in an area, along with the non-living components like climate, water, soil, etc. So pond aquarium, many of you might be having an aquarium in your homes also. Pond aquarium, that is an example of an ecosystem. That is, it consists of both living and non-living components. Then in the ecosystem, we also come across this phenomena that is known as migration. So what is migration? It is the movement of animals from its own habitat to some other habitat for a particular time period. Every year due to climatic changes or for breeding. When the climate is not suitable for the animals, they move from their areas to other suitable areas. Birds which fly very long distances to reach another land are called migratory birds. Then we find in the ecosystem, because of human activities, so much of waste and garbage is piling up, and in school students, they waste so much of paper, so the need of recycling of paper comes in. So what is recycling of paper? We know that about 17 full grown trees are required to produce 1 ton of paper. Paper can be recycled about 5 to 7 times for use. So we should save, reuse and recycle paper to save not only the trees but also to save the energy, water and chemicals used to make paper. So we should make it a habit that we will not waste paper. We will save paper. Now, the question comes to the mind, is there any permanent solution to the problem of deforestation? Because we have seen the consequences as a result of deforestation. So many things can happen. So Professor Ahmed suggests that the answer to deforestation is reforestation. The planted trees should generally be of the same species which were found in that forest. And reforestation can take place naturally also. If the deforested area is left undisturbed, it re-establishes itself. So reforestation, what is it? Here you can see some slides, some people growing trees, planting trees in the month of August. You also had done planting. So reforestation is the restocking of destroyed forest by planting new trees. We should plant at least as many trees as we cut. So each one should grow at least 1 tree. We have already caused a lot of damage to our forest. If we have to regain our green wealth, reforestation is the only option. So, what we have learnt in our discussion, we have learnt about biodiversity, biosphere reserve, deforestation, desertification, ecosystem, endangered species, endemic species, extinct species, flora, fauna, migratory birds, national park, red data book, and reforestation. These are the important terms that we have learnt during our discussion. So thank you.